Hello, everyone. So, this is out of the LA Times, and this is not a great story. And it is again but another scandal from our university here in Los Angeles, USC. Ex-USC admissions official to plead guilty to running a scam to admit unqualified Chinese students. And so this is very, very sad, especially at a time like this when right now we have this virus and there has been multiple complaints of profiling of people from the country of Wuhan or Asian people. But this is separate from that issue, so let's be diplomatic about this here. This all has to do with really one individual who was trying to admit students that were not qualified to be in attendance at USC. So, ex-USC admissions official plead guilty to running scam to admit unqualified Chinese students. Okay, and so this school has really taken a beating, and so it is really showing the true colors of some of the staff that has been employed there over the years and what they've participated in that has pretty much put a tarnish on the school name of USC. So 3 international students each paid a former USC graduate admissions official between $8,000 to $10,000 according to a plea agreement. This was out of the LA Times. This is by Matthew Ormseth. He's a staff writer, so it goes on to pretty much uncover what had happened at USC during this person's employment there. So, in exchange for money, a former admissions official at USC helped graduate students from China gain acceptance to the school by submitting doctored up transcripts, fraudulent letters of recommendation, and bogus personal statements in their applications, according to a plea agreement filed in federal court. And so his name is Hyut Kit David Chong, who worked in USC's Office of Graduate Admissions in 2008 to 2016, agreed to plead guilty to 1 count of wire fraud in an agreement signed last month and unsealed Wednesday. So Chong's admission scheme was separate altogether from the one perpetrated by William Rick Singer. Okay, so this was something not with William Rick Singer. This was separate. So there was a scandal outside of the scandals that were going on as well. So a Newport Beach consultant who bribed USC officials sneaked his star-studded clientele's children into the school with bogus applications and rigged test scores and brought in one of USC's lawyers' words, a media circus upon the campus south of downtown Los Angeles. Well, unbeknownst to us, there was also another scam going on that was doing almost about the same, only this had to do with a Hyut Kit David Chong. And so the investigation into Chong's scam preceded the one into Singer. Okay, so FBI agents in Los Angeles had begun pursuing Chong no later than mid-2017 to be in fact. Court records show about 9 months before federal authorities in Boston investigating a Yale soccer coach suspected of taking bribes were turned on to Singer. Okay, so compared to some of the other scandals that we've seen more recent, this wasn't really on the scale of what Rick Singer was doing, said Stanley Friedman, Chong's attorney. Nonetheless, it was wrong, as Chong acknowledged. So Chong, who returned to Southern California from China in January to resolve his case, is embarrassed, regretful, and takes full responsibility for his crimes, Friedman said. So as an assistant director of graduate admissions, Chong's position allowed him to learn the ins and outs of the admission process at USC. So Friedman said this. So he also operated a side business in Monterey Park, California, or SoCal International Group Inc. is what it was called, which advised students from China on how to apply to graduate programs at American universities, Friedman said. So a USC spokeswoman said the school cooperated with authorities and believes the fraud was isolated to one rogue former employee. Chong concealed his crimes from USC, she said in a statement, and continued committing them for 2.5 years after leaving his institution. Okay, so between February 2015 to December of 2018, Chong purchased college transcripts from a supplier in China who charged $1,000 to $2,000 per phony academic record, the plea agreement said. Chong submitted the transcripts along with fake letters of recommendation and personal statements on behalf of 3 international students who were admitted to the graduate programs at USC University, the college that we know it in Los Angeles, close to downtown. So identified only by their initials, it was FJ, ZL, and SL. They each paid Chong between $8,000 to $10,000 according to the plea agreement. Chong has admitted falling for the FBI. He failed. He fell for an FBI ruse that lured him into presenting the fictitious international applicant Lin Junquing to USC with a doctorate transcript in the exchange of $8,500 in cash. Remarkably, the fake applicant was admitted to USC, and Chong told the undercover agent. Okay, so the ruse began in 2017 when an agent emailed Chong with the subject line, "Help to get in the university." The agent was masquerading as the name, quote unquote, Alex, whose friend's son, Jingquing, so excuse me if I'm not pronouncing that correct, was applying to an American university with only a grade point average of 2.1 grade point average GPA. So in a recorded phone call, Chong told the agent that while he couldn't fabricate the scores, the standardized tests such as the graduate record examinations and the test of English as a foreign language, he could pay a surrogate to take it for him, the plea agreement said. So the following year, Chong met the agent in LA, and the agent handed Jing Qingying's transcript from a Chinese university showing the GPA of 2.6, averaging. And so to Chong. So 4 months later, the plea agreement said that Chong submitted the application on behalf of Ji Qiang. His GPA was all of a sudden turned into 3.47. So November 2018, Chong told the agent that the fictitious Zhuo Qingjing had been admitted to USC. Okay, so the agent met in December of 2018 and handed over $8,500 in cash according to the plea agreement. In all, Chong, admitted collecting about $40,000 from international students and people he believed to be international students. And so this is pretty much the unfolding story that is going on as of now. This is a separate incident to the William Rick Singer incident that we now know as the USC the histories of history school USC scandal. So unbeknownst to us, we didn't know that there were other scandals that were sort of unfolding under the covers at the same university. Wow, this university is taking a beating with these stories of scandalous, fraudulent ways that people have been getting over in the system to try to get into these prestigious colleges, and by bribes and by coercing people and by falsifying documents such as transcripts and GPA averages and taking tests for students, fraudulently doctoring up scores so that they can be admitted to schools that they have no qualifications to be in whatsoever. Wow, people, what do you think of this unfolding story? It is still going on right now, where they're still making decisions on that. They know that he has pleaded guilty, but it makes you wonder what else could be going on at this particular institution of learning. It held such a high prestigious backing. It's private. It has a board, and I even remember as far back when they weren't admitting students of color simply if your name sounded too black or if it sounded too Latin, they would throw your application out. A lot of black students, really, you didn't find very many of them attending this school. It brings new perspective as to why people were fighting for affirmative action to begin with. People knew as far back back in the days, that these schools were not operating on the same playing field of being honest and fair, and that this right here is just but one of many stories. I'm not just going to just relegate it to this one isolated incident, but if you look at all those famous people who were wealthy and had lots of money, and they were still falsifying ways of bribing one another on using their money to get in these schools. Wow. And what was crazy about it is some of the students that they were trying to put in there didn't even really want to attend the schools. And then there was some that did, but man, it makes you wonder, and then it's not only USC that was involved in this. There were other prestigious schools that were also doing the same thing. It's very scary, very, very, very scary realities that we're learning here. Very treacherous situations, and it makes you feel like, who can you trust? Who can you trust? Now you gotta wonder how people actually are getting in these schools. These schools that made it so hard for people way back when, that had the GPA average, but something they didn't have, somehow they didn't get into the school. But they had the GPA, but a lot of people said it was because of their race, or it was because of what they look like or what their names sound like. Now it makes you wonder, wow, or because they didn't have the money. May not be a race thing, it may be a classism. It's because you couldn't pay your way to get in there. So there's a number of things going on with this. The story is still unfolding. Thanks for listening.